hey, while I'm in the US for the 3 years, am I able to go home for like a week or 2 or 3? Or do I have to stay the full 3 years and just like stay in the US, can't go out? And the answer is yes. You can definitely go back to your home country in this 3 year period. And in this video, I will definitely share with you guys how you can do that. So, all right. So first thing to note, I hope you guys can hear me because I lost my voice like a couple weeks ago. It still haven't come back fully, and that has been hindering me from filming, these videos. But I hope you guys can hear and understand what I'm saying. And if you do have any questions, you can reach out to me on Instagram as per usual. So when you just enter the US, that visa that you are granted to enter the US, it is valid for the period of your first work contract, which means that if you're someone that is coming up in the summer season, which normally begins in April, and your employer petitioned for you to work from April 1st through, let's say, October 31st. So your visa would be valid from April 1st to October 31st, which means that you can travel in and out of the US anytime between those 2 dates. So if you're you come up and you're working and say it's around June and you want to take like a 2-week break off from work, you put in your request for the 2-week break and it is approved. You let your employer know that, hey, in this 2 week, I'll be going home, but I'll definitely be back. So you are free to travel inside and outside of the US between your first contract, right? So free to go in and out, no question asked, no hassle at the airport, no hassle at immigration, you are good. But ensure that when you're going home, you do walk with a copy of your petition, just in case any little thing. Your petition is like your little golden ticket. So just always walk with a copy of your petition. All right. So as I said before, you're free to travel in and out of the US anytime between your first H2B job, because that is when your visa is valid, right? So I gave the example, your last working day is October 31st. All right, say through your first employment, you did not leave the US, right? And then you're interested in a winter extension because, hey, you want to stay for the 3 years. You want to make as much money as you can as possible. So the next step for you to do is to find your winter extension employer, and you say everything goes through all the paperwork, you're granted a new petition, right? And your start date for that employer is, let's say, November 1st. So, and your end date is like, let's say, April 30th. So you're now on your winter extension, right? And you would like to go home in, let's say you want to go home in February, right? February the following year. Remember that your visa would be expired on the 31st. So say February comes around, you put in your request that you want 2 weeks off, and you let the employer know that you would like to go home in this 2-week period. No, this is where things changes. This is where things get different, and this is where you're gonna spend extra money and you have to acquire additional documents. I will go in all that. So February the following year, your visa is expired because it is expired from October 31st. Now, you can leave the US on the expired visa, but you cannot re-enter the US on that expired visa. And you definitely cannot re-enter the US solely on your petition. It is a no-no. No. So what would you have to do? You would have to reapply for a new visa. Yes. I have done this before. You have to reapply for a new visa in order to re-enter the US. But before you go ahead and leave the US, you have to get a letter from your employer, either your HR department, your manager, stating that they are aware, stating that they have approved your time off, they are aware of you leaving the US, but they're expecting you to come back at X time, and your job position is readily available for you once you get back off your trip. And let me stick up in here, guys. I would deeply recommend that if you would like to go home, don't just go home because you want a break from work. I would say it have to be something very, very important, because anything can happen, right? Anything can happen. But if you just want a break from work, there are so many states in the US. You can just take time off, fly to that state, drive to that state, enjoy yourself, sightsee, have fun, plan a group trip with your friends. But I would recommend leaving the US. Please let it be something important. Either you have to sign some documents that requires you to sign in person, or it's a family emergency, like it's a life or death situation, or if it's like a funeral you'd like to attend, or a graduation you'd like to attend. I would just recommend you leaving the US. Let it be for a valid reason. If you just want a break and time off, take the break and time off, but stay in the US. You know how the US embassy stays. Like, you have to have strong supporting documents in order for them to grant your visa. Not because you're on the H2B program, you're an H2B worker, you have a job, they're gonna want to grant you. And you know, like the representatives, or what they call them, consulars, or whoever do the interviews at the embassy, you know, sometimes they can be having a bad day, and just because the day is bad, they just deny you your visa, and you don't want to risk your chance of, you know, coming back and, you know, securing the bag. So that's why I recommend that. I hope it's something serious as to why you'd like to go home, but not only serious, but super important. I hope it's something super important, so that you know, it lessens the chance of you not getting back your visa to come back and work. So either super important or something super serious. If it's just for time off, you're homesick, get it together, girl. Get it together, sir. Like, you're here for a reason. You're here to make money. So yeah, because listen, this whole US visa, no matter what type of visa, it's tricky, very tricky. And you know, US, how they're very picky when it comes on to who gets a visa, who gets a renewed, like, just to be on the safe side, ensure that it is an important reason or something serious. For me, when I left, my dad was sick. He was really sick. He was admitted in the hospital, and I wanted to see him, like I wanted to see him. So you would have to get that document from your workplace, because that is one of the documents that is going to support your reason as to why you left the US, right? So ensure that before you leave, you get a physical copy of a letter from your employer stating everything that I said before, like why you leave. They know that, all right, they already approved your time off, they're aware that you'll be out of the country for X amount of time, they're expecting you to come back at this time, and your job position is readily available for when you get back. Now, what I did was, before I left the US, I applied for my visa. So 2 nights before my flight, I applied for the visa online and I paid for it. I think now the visa fee increased from, I think it was 160 US at first. I think it's at 190 US now. But before it increased, I paid I think it was 160 US, yeah. So I did all that 2 nights before my flight to leave the US. So, and why I did that is because what I wanted to do is, because at that time the embassy was a bit backlogged. So just in case they would call me in for an interview, I would have had ample time to submit my documents so that I can basically skim off some of the long wait, just in case they would call me in for an interview. So I would recommend to you guys, Like, and the night before your flight or 2 nights before your flight, apply for your visa so that as you reach your home country, you just go up to the document center and submit your documents. So that's what I did. So the day when I reached Jamaica, it was after the place had closed. So the following morning, bright and early, I went up there and submitted my documents, meaning that envelope with where you put your passport size photo, a copy of your petition, all that stuff, and then I drop it off to the document center for the US Embassy. Now, with my situation, as I said before, my dad was sick. So for my supporting documents, alongside my petition, my 2 passport size photos, my passport, what else? Yeah, alongside those, I submitted a copy of my itinerary. So, because I booked a round trip. So I photocopied that to show them, hey, my ticket is already purchased for me to leave X date. Alongside that, my dad was admitted in the hospital. At first, he visited a private doctor. So I got a letter from the private doctor stating his condition. And then the hospital where he was admitted to, I went up there and I went to the medical records department and I got a record, his medical record, to state like how long he was admitted for and what was wrong with him. So and the letter from my employer, that is what I submitted alongside my passport and petition. So those are strong supporting documents to show proof as to why I left work and come home, right? So if you are coming for a graduation, I would suggest you print a copy of I suggest you book a round flight. You include a copy of your itinerary for your flight, right? And if it's for a graduation, I also suggest that you get a copy of that invitation, put it in there. If it's for a funeral you're coming home for, I would suggest you get a copy of the person's death certificate, put it in there, and a copy of so yeah, they're doing tours at my apartment, so sorry about that. So your death certificate and a copy of the funeral program, just slip that in there so you have strong supporting documents. So when you put so much evidence, guess what? There's a high chance for them to not call you in for an interview. But wait, ensure that when you're filling out your visa application, ensure that everything is done properly. Like, try to limit any mistakes at all, because say you submit your documents and you have your supporting documents in it, but then something is off with your application, just because the first thing they're going to do is pull up your application, then open your envelope and then go through your documents. So you can have strong supporting documents and then something is off with your application, and then guess what? They would have to call you in for an interview. So ensure that your application is done properly. Ensure that you have enough supporting documents to justify your reason for leaving work and coming home. And it is that simple. So for me, I submitted my envelope, and in 2 business days, my visa was approved and issued. And then I didn't even stay the full 2 weeks. I only spent like a week and a half because things was turning around with my dad. And then I just come straight back to work. And it's that easy and simple. But you just have to take your time and do things properly. Don't rush it. Just think ahead. So to just backtrack, to save time for I know that Jamaican embassy, they have early interview dates now. So if you're someone that is interested in leaving, but you have to keep in the back of your head, hey, probably they might come for an interview. So one thing to do, instead of you just reaching in Jamaica and then doing the whole visa application, you could save yourself like a day or two by just applying for the visa the night before your flight or 2 nights before your flight, so that as you land in your home country, you just go straight to the document center, drop off your documents. And on their website, on the US Embassy website, it shows that H2B visas normally takes between 3 to 5 calendar days to be processed and for you to know the status, either if it's denied or approved. And it is just like that. So that is all you have to do. If your visa is valid, you're free to go. You're free to go, but ensure that you request time off. Don't just get up and leave work. Request time off, ensure that it is approved, and then you go. But if it's a case where you're on an extension, where your visa is expired, ensure that you reapply for a new H2B visa. And with that new H2B visa, they will grant it. The employer section will be your current employer. So I am currently on a new H2B visa for my winter extension employer. And I acquired it when I went home on an expired visa. And, you know, I had to get a new visa to come back to work. Also, a thing that was tricky for me is I thought that when I got the new visa, my 3 years would automatically start over. So I came in the US April 2022. That means that my 3 years would end April 2025. But when I got the new visa that I'm currently on, I thought that, you know, my 3 years would end January 2026, but no. I was told that whatever the first visa that you enter the US on, that is the visa that they will work with when counting your 3 years. So unfortunately, well, which is fine, my 3 years haven't started over. I still would have to leave the US by April 2025. So that is another important thing to note for you guys, not to jeopardize yourself thinking that your 3 years would start over. No, the first visa that you come in the US on, that regardless of you going home, getting a new visa, that is the visa, that date on the visa, the year on the visa, that is where they will count your 3 years from. Now, after you have finished your 3 years and you go home to your home country for 3 months, and then if you'd like, after the 3 months, you'd like to come back on the H2B program, you get a new visa, you come back, and then your 3 years would start over. That is when your 3 years start over, when you have waited your 3 months. So I hope this video was helpful to you guys. If you are interested in going home, and if you guys don't understand what I just said in the video, you can still message me on Instagram and ask me questions. I will definitely answer. Just in case you're a little bit clouded on what I explained, probably I don't explain it plain enough. So you can always ask me questions and I will help you guys. So remember guys, only leave the US if it's serious, important. Don't just get up and leave, because at the end of the day, when I went home, I spent a shitload. I spent so much money. I spent so much money that I could have stayed at work, and I spent so much money. So that is another thing. You going home, you are going to spend a lot of money. So as I said, it have to be a life and death situation, graduation, some important documents have to be signed. Just please let that be the only reason you would like to go home. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful, and I will be continuing this H2B series. I have a few more videos in mind. I think the next video after this, I will be giving you guys a tour of my housing, like speak on H2B housing. Yeah, that's the next video that I'll be talking about, H2B housing. I will share with you guys the space that I am currently living in and the space that I have lived in before. Yeah, so thank you guys for tuning in.